So where are we going?
We'll go up to Glencoe to start with. We could get a hamburger. Do you want a hamburger or what?
Yeah, hamburger's fine.
So hamburger's fine with me too.
So we're going up Green Bay Road, which you've probably driven on.
Yeah.
Millions more than me.
You're so right. And you know, sadly enough, Winnetka's fine. Wilmette is a pain in the neck. I can't tell you how many times I stopped at stop signs there that I wanted to scream at them because they never were in uniform.
Yeah. So did you? You were, where were you born? You were born in...
I was born in Indianapolis.
In Indianapolis, okay. So I was driving through Indianapolis today and I went by Meridian.
Did you?
Yesterday. Yeah, I actually got off on Meridian to buy gas.
Did you?
Then I was thinking that's where you were, right?
Yeah. That's where my grandmother lived. I was born in Indianapolis in a house. They lived in a house at the time. And my mother had me at home. I guess everybody did that those days. And I guess I don't know where we were living, but anyway, Mother and Daddy had I guess it was an apartment. My father didn't believe in buying houses ever. It wasn't until finally, after Buck and I had moved several times and making money on all our houses,
right,
that he finally said, well, maybe we should buy a house too. So then they
with Granby, right?
With Granby in Glenview.
Yeah.
But he didn't believe in that at all because he was in the stock market.
But then he went on and built a condo in Florida, didn't he?
He did. Well, because he finally discovered that there was quite a bit of money
to be made.
Right. And they did. He was out there selling all these apartments, and fortunately, he sold them all. And then the collapse of the condo market happened, and a lot of them went broke. A lot of them didn't sell anything. It was a mess down there.
Kind of like now.
Yeah, right. So like now. But anyway, so then we moved when I was 4 up to Milwaukee. George somebody, I can't think of his name right now. It was a good friend of my father's, and he said, let's go into business in Milwaukee. So Daddy said, okay, well, so we moved to Milwaukee. So I had my first grade in Milwaukee. I don't think I ever went to kindergarten. And then George said, oh, we got a better job up in Green Bay. And I got to turn up here anyway, don't I? Anyway, so we moved up to Green Bay, and that was really fun. We had a beautiful big house up there, and it was snowed all the time, and it snowed so heavy that there were times when they had to, it was so high that to get in the front door, you dug a hole.
Like a ramp and a hole through.
A hole through it, yeah. You had to, anyway, and Mother would get mad at me because I would be out. I'm going to try to beat this guy. Come on, mister. And I would come home without boots on or anything, sloshing along in the snow and having the best time. She always thought I was going to get sick, which I never did. So.
Do you remember what your address was in Green Bay? You probably wouldn't.
I got it down.
Oh, you do? Cool.
Yeah, it's down here.
Oh, it's in the book.
Yeah, it's in here.
That's okay.
I don't know. I can't find it right now. But I do know what it is. What it was. And then finally George said, oh, well, we've got to go to Chicago because it's much better in Chicago.
Wait a minute, who is George again?
George.
What was his relationship?
Well, just a friend of Daddy's.
Oh, okay. And they were in business together.
And they were friends. They were I guess they were sort of in business together. It wasn't a formal business.
Okay.
So, so then we moved to Glencoe. So I had half of my second grade in Green Bay and the other half in Glencoe. And that's where we're going to go first. I'm going to show you.
Your house?
My house in Glencoe. And I loved the house. It was interesting. In those days, that was in the 30s. Every house had a maid's room.
All right.
And every maid's room had a back stairs down to the kitchen. And, I mean, this was a 3-bedroom house with a maid's room. And it was a small house. I mean, it wasn't enormous at all, but everybody had maids. I mean, and my mother said that she paid Anna $6 a month, I think.
Where was Anna from?
She was from Milwaukee. And
That's amazing.
and at one time, when we lived on Dundee Road, was it Dundee? We were somewhere, maybe, I don't know where I'd have to look back again, but we had a couple live with us. I mean, we had a chauffeur. Yeah, I think we paid them, $12 a month.
So, but at $12 a month.
Probably was a lot those days.
Yeah, it probably was. Well, it couldn't have been that much though, because everybody had them.
I know. It was crazy. But that only lasted a year or something. So then I lived on Green Bay on Madison Street in Glencoe, and I loved the house. It was just darling. And another funny thing.
Actually, do you want to get a taco for lunch?
Yeah, where do we get that?
It's up here. It's
I'd love to do
healthier. Yeah, they're better. Sorry, I interrupted
that's fine. So anyway, across the street was a cute girl by the name of Nancy Weil. She was older than I, well, 2 years or something. And then next to her were two little girls who were called the Penfield girls. And they were younger. They were like 3 and 4 or something. So I didn't really have anybody to play with, especially. Except I did have my own friends from 2nd grade. And so then, we lived there for a year. And another interesting thing was that my mother loved to move his furniture around. And I would get so mad at her. I'd come home from school and everything would be all arranged. The living room would be changed around. The couch would be different, and the piano. I mean, it was just stupid. I used to say to her, "Mother, why do you do that?" "Oh, I just think it looks better this way." And then, a month later, it'd be all changed around again. When I move, it's all going to stay just the way it is, period. So anyway, so then, in 3rd grade, I think it was 3rd grade, it must have been, let me see, it must have been around 1929 or 30, and the stock market collapsed, and Daddy was having trouble. I think he had his own business by then, but anyway. So my mother found out that somebody had a house on
Hang on